Hey guys! So this video is about how INFJs, like me, like you, like us, handle loss. And I'm speaking from very recent experience. Um, so usually this is a very happy, joyful, bubbly kind of a channel because that's a big part of who I am. And it was something that I resisted for a very long time. But then recently I realized just after my mom died, no matter what's happening, that's what I come back to. That's my sort of mode of transportation, for lack of better words. That's what I'm like. If you know me, you know that I am sarcastic. You know that I'm silly. You know that I'm funny. No, seriously, I actually am. And you know that I can also be very quiet. What you don't know is that I experience loss every day, and a lot of people do. I'm not saying that I'm special in that way. I'm saying that one way in which we are different as INFJs is that we can dwell in a loss so much that we act the opposite of how we feel, to the extent that people think we're very, very happy. And in actuality, we're miserable. We're very, very sad. I myself, I'm in that place right now. I'm less miserable right now because I just spent some time with my deceased dog. And I know that's not going to make sense, but whether you're Christian or you're pagan or you're this or that or the other religion, the fact is many religions across time and even science admits that after you die, I die, we die. Even my little dog I have with me right now, after she passes, there's some of us that is still here. There's a quotient that cannot be bottled, it cannot be separated, and it cannot be quieted, and it cannot be stopped, and that is energy. Whether you refer to it as chi, whether you refer to it as energy, whether you refer to it as living cells, the fact is we are sound waves. The sound waves can't be stopped. They can be quieted to a degree in which the listener cannot hear them, but they always exist. We are energy. And as my mom used to say quite a lot, especially towards the end of her life, energy cannot be stopped. So I miss my dog very, very much. She was a lot more than just a dog. Around the time that my mom got ill, I realized that I wanted to do so many different things, including I felt that it was time for me to sort of get my work underway and almost sort of get it out of the way so that I could start a family. I really felt that was my time. That's what my clock, my internal clock, was telling me it was time to do. It was time to do those sorts of things. But I had to make a choice. I didn't think that it made any sense to bring somebody into the world that I couldn't pay attention to and that I couldn't take care of. And that's one of the other reasons why I felt like it was so important for me to get in to my business of getting my career underway and having it go really well so that I could say, okay, now I can go ahead and get into mommy mode, so to speak. Because as an INFJ, we really take responsibility. There's a lot of different Enneagram types out there, and there's a lot of different personality types in psychology that you can read about. But basically, there are those who take responsibility and those who wish not to, and who go out of their way not to the extent of actually putting themselves in danger or in pain just to get away from the pain, the perceived pain of having weight on their shoulders. INFJs are different. You're different. I'm different. We would prefer to have the pain, the joy, and the weight of taking care of someone versus not, or just the responsibility of something in general. And if you're a part of a team or you're a part of a crew or you've got a job where you're a part of a team or a crew, whatever, although other people will see it as you simply doing your job, you'll realize it for what it really is. You'll see it for what it really is, and what that is taking care of other people. Because if you screw up and you mess up, then they can't do their jobs, right? That's the way that it works. So when you take care of your job and your workload and you do your job well, you're actually helping other people do their jobs well as well. And so now that my June has passed, I've got one little dog left. And honestly, my response to that at first was heartbreak. That's something that I feel right now, and I don't think a lot of people can tell. And the truth is, though, when we get into this space of being in a lot of pain, we analyze it, and we analyze ourselves, and we say something is broken, something needs to be fixed. How can we fix that? Something's empty. How do we fill it? Well, the empty space isn't only Juren, it's taking care of somebody. How do I fill that? Well, the immediate answer to that need is Miju. I can love Miju. But there has to be something more than that, because honestly, that's not enough. And one of the reasons why is if you've ever been a caregiver, an actual caregiver or caretaker of someone who was ill. My dog was very ill. Before that, my other dog was very ill. Before that, my mother was ill. And this is sort of a repeating theme in my life. If someone gets ill and I take care of them and they pass away, and everyone says, "Oh my God, you did that so well. How did you take care of them?" And on their way, moving on in life, they espouse the same feelings, and that's really nice. I'm glad that I'm able to help them, but it's too painful, and I need to stop doing it. I need to get out of the vicinity of people who would need that again, because it's a little bit too much for me emotionally. So what that means is I have to take care of myself. So the question is, how do I fix that about myself? I'm like a broken vase. I'm a cracked something. I need to be fixed. Well, here's what we do. We do a test. I've come back to this many times in the past. I don't know if you've seen my channel before, but I talk about how INFJ types love learning, and we love analyzing, and we love tests, and we love testing tests to see the validity of their responses to our responses. We love analyzing things. So I took a test yesterday, and I went ahead and I wrote down the answers as I was doing the test. I don't know if you've seen Frank James's channel before, but there's a YouTuber. His name is Frank James. That's the name of his YouTube channel as well. And there's another YouTuber as well. His name is Clay Arnall. So Frank James had this video about kind of kicking yourself into gear as an INFJ. And that made me stop his video and go and find Clay Arnall's video. So Clay Arnall is someone who it seems like he has a business for basically everything that you would need for ponds. So specifically, it's a little bit more on the technical side. It's not just about like sketching and designing, but actually how you make that work. It's okay, dog. It's okay. But he's also been in some other technical jobs as well, not just about the mechanics of systems like ponds or like what I'm looking at right now. He's also seems like he's done something with art in the past, and he loves film and all sorts of things. If you want to learn more about Clay Arnall, I invite you to. I think that you should. He's got a great channel. He's got a much different, he's got the same personality type of both INFJs, but he has a very different demeanor or manner. And if you prefer someone who's a little bit quieter, but who's also, but there's like this spark when he talks, you're going to really enjoy his channel. So I suggest that you check out Clay Arnall, and I'll put a link with his name in the description of this video. But I followed his suggestion and I followed his test, and to get myself back on track, because that's what we do as INFJs. And if you're an INFJ, I'd like to suggest something. If you're an INFJ and you're hurting because you just lost someone, no, maybe you can't take care of them anymore, but they would want you to take care of yourself. They would want you to be cared for, perhaps by someone else as well, but they'd want to know that the same way that you were constantly feeding them or caring for them, that you were nurturing and nourishing yourself. Perhaps maybe this video I'm going to suggest to you that Clay Arnall made might be something for you if you're an INFJ who's in a lot of pain right now. You're going to have a lot of times where suddenly it just hits you. And you're going to have a lot of other times when it hits you for hours on end, but you're not crying on the outside. That's where I'm at right now. It's incredibly painful. Then you'll have other times where you can barely breathe. And the fact is, none of that is specific to being an INFJ so much as it is specific to being human. And you have to give yourself room to be human, even after analyzing the crap out of your thoughts and your nightmares and your feelings at the time. And you have to give yourself permission to go through the motions and to be okay with it. The same way, with the same amount of love and appreciation and patience that you would muster up and naturally have for that other person that you are caring for. So here are the steps from Clay Arnold's video. And I'm going to do a separate video actually going along with his test at the same time. First question that he asks is, what is your unfair advantage? The second question that he asks is, what do you do that you love that you've always done? And the third question that he asks is there something that you can do in the world that can really help people? Fourth question is, nope, hang on. I guess there's a kind of like a second part to that last question, and that is, what do you think is your sort of special knowledge? What is your depth of knowledge? Now, that wasn't actually a specific question of his, but it kind of boils down to that. You know, it's the sum of its parts. If you love learning about, maybe you love learning about clocks, as in, as in traditional clocks, and you love actually making them, but you also love trains from a very specific time period. Maybe the sum of the parts in that situation would be that you're extremely good at being able to visualize, draw, paint, design, and maybe even help someone pick out a real vintage clock from a train station. Maybe you would be one of those people that could say, oh, that's definitely not the thing that they're trying to sell you, that's a scam. Let's just say that's a bad example, but it is an example. And so then the last question that I wrote down anyways, and I was pretty distraught at the time. I was actually sobbing while I was doing this test, so excuse me if it's not truly correct. But the last question that I wrote down anyways is, what complex thing can you make simple? And those are really, really great questions. In my next video, I'm going to do the test with you guys so that you can actually see it, because that's one other thing that INFJs love. If you're trying to figure out what are some of the things that you love, not only do you love analyzing things, but you love seeing the outcome and you love seeing people go through these tests. So if you're not in an emotional state where you can go through a test, I would seriously suggest watching a channel like mine, like Clay Arnold's, like Frank James's, and a myriad of other INFJs. Now they're sort of like the top in their field right now. They have a very niche market. INFJs talking to other INFJs on YouTube, but they're not the only ones. I'm going to put a list of other INFJs that I love to watch, and it's really good if you're feeling very sad and very down and you're dealing with loss, because it helps you regain something of yourself. It helps you become a little bit more acquainted with yourself. We're not carbon copies, we're not the same exact person, but sometimes it can really help to quiet the noise of the worry and the overanalyzation of yourself when you watch somebody else do a very simplified thing. Because when you watch somebody else take one of these very simplistic tests, the answers are very obvious to you and they're just staring you in the face the way that they simply cannot for yourself when you're doing it for yourself. It's one of those things. It's sort of, this is so silly, but it's sort of like massaging. You know, you can massage somebody else and make them feel good, but it's a lot harder to do it for yourself. Can you tickle yourself? Well, you can make those jokes and nobody else understands, but it's just one of those things. When you watch somebody else and it makes sense what they're going through, it's so much easier to quiet the noise and the worry and actually isolate the truth in your own yourself and what you're going through. So anyways, this was just my little video about INFJs going through loss. I know this is definitely not my only video on it, but it's very, very recent. Juden just passed away this past Friday after she got the surgery that I have been lobbying for, really, truly lobbying for. I've been talking to total strangers